A very common situation in an algebra class is a student may learn how to solve a linear equation and learn the steps to solve linear equations, and he'll practice it and he'll do lots of homework problems. But then out of the blue, he'll try an example and something weird happens, something funny happens, and the student will often think that he made a mistake, he or she made a mistake, when in fact that's not the case at all. And what the student likely stumbled across was something called a contradiction, or another situation called an identity. And these are different, and we're going to talk about them in this video. A contradiction is a equation that does not have any solutions. Let me give you an example. Let's say you had y equal to y plus 3. Well, think about that for a minute. Any value you would plug in for y, if you add 3 to it, it's not going to be the same as the original. It's a linear equation for sure, but 10 doesn't equal 13, right? If you add 3 to 10, it's not going to equal 10 anymore. And that goes for any y. If you have 20, that doesn't equal 20 plus 3. 30 doesn't equal 30 plus 3. There's no value for y where y would equal y plus 3. So this would be an example of a contradiction. It has no solutions to it. So the way you could say that is you could, for the solution, either write the empty set, which is the curly braces with nothing inside, and that tells the reader that there's no solutions. Or you can write the symbol for the empty set, which is a circle with a slash through it, and that tells the reader you've got a contradiction. Another word for an equation that has a contradiction is you can call the equation inconsistent. This is a popular phrase that some textbooks use to indicate that the equation does not have any solutions. So some textbooks use the word contradiction, some textbooks use the word inconsistent equation. And another common situation that you might run into is something called an identity. An identity, on the other hand, has infinitely many solutions. For example, if you had the equation 2 times the quantity x plus 5 equals the 2x plus 10. Well, this equation here, the left side is the same as the right side. You distributed the 2, but they're the same. So for any value of x, 2 times the quantity x plus 5 will be the same as 2x plus 10. And that, again, that's true for any value of x you would happen to choose. So there's not one answer. All x's would be solutions to this equation. So the way you could write that as a solution is you could either write out the words all real numbers, or usually what we'll do is we'll write a capital R with an extra bar out front, and that is shorthand notation for the phrase all real numbers. And so this has infinitely many solutions. Every real number is a solution to this equation. All right, so a common question that I'm asked quite often is, how do we know if a linear equation is one of these weird guys, one of these guys that is a contradiction or an identity, or one of our typical types of equations that just has one solution? Well, the answer to that is simple. Just solve your equation as you typically would. You're likely not going to know at the beginning of the problem if it's going to be one of these new types or one of these regular types that has one solution. So when you solve it, or throughout the process of solving it, you'll either get one solution and you're done, or you'll get a statement that's always true, or you'll get a statement that's always false. And if it's one of the latter two, if it's a true statement, then you get what's called an identity. Or if you get a false statement, that's what we call a contradiction. So we'll close with just 3 very short examples. These are very, very, very quick, but and very, very small, but they should at least get across the point. If you have the equation 2x plus 1 equals 9, and you know how to solve a linear equation, then we'll put the variables on one side and the constants on the other by subtracting 1 from both sides, and we'll get 2x equal to 8. Then we'll divide by the variable's coefficient, and we get x equals 4. Well, we're done. That's an answer, and that's our one answer. This is our one solution to this linear equation. And so this is a typical normal type of equation. If we look at the second equation, y plus 5 equals 5 plus y, if we simplify both sides and then we move the variables to one side and the constants to the other, the first step would be to subtract y from the right, to remove it from the right side. And when we subtract y also from the left, the y's actually just disappear and we get 5 equals 5, and there's no more variables at all. And this is where a student scratches their head and they say, well, did I make a mistake? What just happened here? Well, you should realize that this statement is always true. 5 is always equal to 5 regardless of what y is. And so what you've just stumbled across is called an identity. And the last type of equation, we have m plus 1 equals m plus 3. If you subtract m from both sides, you would get the equation 1 equals 3. But you look at that and you say 1 equals 3. 1's never equal to 3. Well, what you just stumbled across here is a contradiction. So don't think that you have to know ahead of time what type of equation it is. You just solve it as normal, and then you look to see if you get one answer, a true statement, which would be an identity, or some false statement, which would be a contradiction.